Today we'll see how we can work with API component. So there are so whatever we already discussed earlier classes with disadvantage with the web service server connected. So all this can be resolved with this API component.
Yes.
So mainly one thing is you can with API component you can logically group the web services. That means you can define the number of operations that belongs to one service. Let's say contact services that you have add service, you have update service, you have delete service, something like we have three set of the things is there. You can group these things in one service. But using a web service server connector, we don't have an option that. So you can logically group web services with one component. Let's say you have a contact service, add, update, delete. You can put it in one contact service for one API component. Like we have other like customer service is that we can do that. That's the one thing. Other thing is you can customize the endpoint URL. That means basically we can means it supports the versioning. You can customize endpoint URL. As of now, we don't have endpoint URL can be as of now endpoint URL you cannot customize it. Default it has to be your host and port, then web service slash slope. That's the only thing was there. But if you want to customize it, that's not possible in there. And otherwise, so and so in this one you can use the customized endpoint URL. Generally, we'll maintain the versioning. What kind of a version is maintaining with endpoint URL. So other thing what we cannot do with is default target namespaces will be Boomi namespaces will be generating. Boomi default target namespaces are getting generated. So this also can be rectified. We can have an option whether you want to have a default namespace or not. The option is there earlier, but in the web service server component you don't have an option. Another thing is you can make as a proxy an existing service. So these are the things we can do. But what why will we use the API component is okay, how we use API component is API component is always associated with web service server component process.
Is this API we are using after the listener? No, 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 no. One second.
Both are
Oh,
individual components. Okay, this has to be deployed. Web service process has to be deployed. API component is just a configuration component. It's nothing is doing that. But this also a deployable component. Both need to deploy it.
okay.
Then with API component, what we'll get is we can take the advantage of flexibility. We can quickly create it. We have an option of importing, creating, generating all these things. We can automatically do it with this one. So this after we done a service and then we will see how to test the services using the Boomi as a client. We'll see using the HTTP client connector. We will use it. HTTP client connector we can use it. Or even web service so client connector. So today we'll see implementing the web services using API component and triggering those web services component using a Boomi with HTTP client connector as well as web service web client connector. Yesterday we have seen how to trigger same thing with Postman and other things. Postman and SOAP UI. Okay, let's go ahead and quickly create it. So let's first create a new component. In the new component, select the API here. Here you can write something book service. Here, here, right? So you have this one right specifically. And one more thing we need to say, if you want to use API component features, on the atom management type API type to be set to be advanced. Instead of intermediate, we need to set atom management phase to be advanced. It's mandatory. Without that functionality, it will not work. And another thing is, there are few more changes. You can just refer to the document. The main thing I am just covering it here. So once you are, as you know, right, once we implement a web services, you can use a simple one as well as you can use a SOAP URL one. So once you use the API component, this will be blocked. You cannot go anymore with a simple option. Either you can go so simple option will be blocked. And one more thing is it's only supported to a very limited REST, but whereas the API component is fully supported with REST as well as fully supported with REST as well as OData component. You can see OData also you can support it. So first we'll see SOAP and then REST, then the OData how it looks like a simple one. Published API. Okay, I'm just title.
Generally, what is the purpose of war data? I heard sometime back war data, but after that I forget that one.
No, it's a open data protocol standard. It's with that open data protocol standard, they were leveraging it and HTTP verbs. Similar to the rest, why implementing, I'm not sure. Even I didn't also didn't get. Whenever you work with SAP systems, or mostly they'll give us the word data API. It's very similar to the rest one. Nothing much different. But only thing, other thing is with the word data, you can even get the structure of the your you can even get the structure of the your service rate, input or output, and even you can do some kind of where class filters also you can write it. Some kind of functions where class filters also you can write it. Let's say I wanted to retrieve last 24 hours updated customers. In the word data, you can write this filter is a one query parameter where you can write all you can write the conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Publish number, let's say V10. Description. This is the mandatory part. You cannot avoid this anymore. This is the base part. The way how you are using the base part WS of earlier. This is the base part what you can do. You can just mention something like services, book, something you can write like anything you can write, but it's saying you don't put for slash. And then advanced, to add anything header parameters, you can add it here. And next to go for the scope. See the how flexibility it is. Import an endpoint. Okay. With importing an endpoint, we already have a processes. Create a new process. You can directly create a new process and you can do that and import from external service file. This is an external service file, basically something like a kind of a YAML file, something like that. So you can directly generate any web service server connector process. That's the external file means. This is external service URL is basically a visual URL. This is for SOAP and this is for REST generally. You can even use both also. So service file means you just have to give a file. URL means you can use the endpoint URL. With that endpoint you can flex it. It is an existing process. Importing process from environment. Environment means from the deployed process. As of now, we can use both the things. We have access to both existing process. We can use it as well as import process from environment as well. Even we have deployed to an environment, but both we can use it. It is an existing process. Or else even we can select this one also. This is the flexibility of creating. You can select the environment, development environment. You can see that there are the two services are there. You can implement all. Yes. So over data. Click finish. Okay. All confirmation is got it. Let's first click on save and then we can modify that. Okay. Rest. You can see that WS rest services book. This is the base path we given it here. This base path will be added to the this base path is added to the WS rest. This is a standard one again here. We'll add it. After that, what anything you want to come, you will get this thing. So next thing is let's modify this one. This is the books, and you can even edit this one. Edit an endpoint. Books resource path is books. But we can change this one with book. Okay, let it keep it. Don't have any problem with that. I should. Okay, we saved it. Go to rest. This is a get method. This is also a get method. Let's click on copy endpoint. See, this is how the path would be for this one. If you want to trigger this particular endpoint URL, you want to trigger this endpoint URL, right? That's fine. You want to trigger this endpoint URL, right? In the rest, we have two operations, right? Two endpoints. You want to trigger either of each one of them. You need to go to here, click on edit, and you need to take this path. WS REST services book. Until this, you already able to see. You already
Base
able
path.
to see here. Now, for that again, just resource name would be added. That's the only thing.
So this is base path, right? In that means.
This is the main base path. After
Yes.
that,
Yes.
for rest, this is the base path. For
Oh,
top, this is the base path.
okay.
Okay, this is the base path. After that, you will add it book.
Okay.
Right? I think I basically, if I remove it, it looks good. Service 310, then it looks pretty good. Okay. Services, then you can add books. Then you can add book by ID.
Mhm. Suppose V1 we changed at the base path, right? So, for example, V1 should use and V2. I want to use V1 and V2 both.
V1
So,
and V2 both.
yeah, V1 having, for example, books and book by ID, and V2 are having books, book by ID, and books location. For example, so one more. Yeah.
How can we combine these three things? You are saying you have a base. Okay, you are saying that you have for backward compatibility you are maintaining two, and additional that you are implementing a new service, right?
Yeah, right. So V1 version, for example, V1 having books and books by ID, and
Mm-hmm.
so V2 they are asking me to develop it. Okay, for V2 new service we are going to implement.
Then you
So
need to again copy those two services to here. You can copy the existing API component, API service, and on top of that add it. You can modify the version.
okay.
Start
So
import one to here.
okay, totally API itself we need to change it.
Right.
Okay,
Okay. Here you want to just mention the ID. So this is how it looks like for book. Okay. If you want to use get book by ID, right? This one is we need to path specify like this. So runtime will be replacing. So earlier we specified query parameter, right? Now we are specifying path parameter. I just enter path here. Okay, this is a process is handling it. So we'll just modify this one. So what exactly we are doing here is query books by ID right here. So here what we are doing it. I think we don't think we required it yet. Let's go here parameters. If it instead of query, it would be param. Okay. Now let's remove it directly. Basically, yesterday after we set application, after we convert the JSON, but still the content type in the response what we are getting is an XML. We're getting XML as a content type in the response, but we are getting application as a JSON in the body as a JSON response. So for that, I just set the content type as a again manually. So this is this when we are getting content type as an XML, right? When we set accept as application slash JSON, we should get the response as JSON, and header in the response header also should populate the correctly. So yesterday was correctly not populated, so that's why I added this header. But then we can ignore it. I think this one is handled internally by I'm directly connecting here. Okay. So I have added. Let's see if this is the correct one or not. One second. Just want to confirm before using that.
okay,
In header is fine. That one. Let's see if it's not working, then we'll see that. Okay, now that's the only change we need to do. Let's click on save and close. No changes there. Let's click on save and close. Even this also is not required. I check immediately. Save and close. This one also. Let's give the same book. Okay, let's click on OK. Let's see something is say edit endpoint. Here also book I will be giving. One second. What is process? Books by ID. Sorry, I already edited this one. Book service. Yes.
Query all books. Okay, I supposed to edit this one as well. A resource name I want to edit. Just book. Okay, this process is query all books. Fine. So this endpoint URL something like, I think I did not save this one. So it looks to be book. Again, I wanted to book. Okay. So that's all. Let's go to soap. We can test all in one point, all in one time. So here also, if you want to modify anything, you can modify that. As I mentioned here, right? So I'll show you this option. If you want to remove Boomi Web Service results, you want to remove, or you can, if you don't put anything, you can say default it will come here. Otherwise, you can customize even anyone here. Give me 1 minute. I'll come back.
Okay.
I'm just pausing it. Give me 2 minutes. I'll come back.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay, I'm back. So these are the few options are there. I told you that we can use for proxy services, and for that purpose, basically we will be using these options. These options. First, we'll not looking into this right now. So we'll go this. And even for OData profiles also, there is some standard we need to follow for OData profile for OData service to be working properly. So let first let deploy this one, and then we'll see like how we can work with. So let's try to test with this. Basically, there is a content is a type we need to define. There is a content type is a we need to define the content type with the namespace. This that is the standard one. Word data is enforcing, not the Boomi one. So that's why maybe word data you not expect it working, but we'll just see this one. We'll try this. So this is a get entities, get all books, get all books. Select unload action. Here is basically something like, it internally handle it. It need to have an ID. That ID should be an unique and that should be integer. You have two options like get entities by key. Get entities means basically it lists all the things. Get entities by key means wherever the key matches, that will be retrieving that. So already specified get entities. So for next one, 7 close, choose profiles. Choose the keys from keys. We don't have ID. ID we define that, I think. My ID is not coming here. Author, title, general, price, public. So open this one. Okay, ID depend as an attribute. That's why it's not coming. Okay, maybe we can remove the raw data. We'll do it later. We'll remove this raw data one. So we'll add it. Okay. So let's test only the rest and soap part only. Then let's click on save and click on view deployment. So let's deploy this. Save and close. Save and deploy. And if you remember, we did not done any changes for the get all books, only for get books by ID. We did some changes, but let's try to do the testing. Then we'll deploy the get book by ID process. After this one, get all books is working, then we can do that. So now this is where we can use the API management. Let's click on API new tab, because all these things, right, the API component using it. So we have to manage everything from API management window. Okay, I already opened API management window. It just shows the history and all the things. So now let's go for APIs. Let's go for APIs. So as for testing, I did something. You can see here what's one book service. Here is book service. Okay, it retrieves list of books and deployed also one. We already deployed it. Either you have an option of deploying from there here, or even we can deploy it from here also. Let's click on manage. Okay, it says that see environment is not API compatible. In order to deploy an API on this environment, you must configure at least one atom on it for API access. That means basically what it's saying that this is the one I told you. Let's click on here, shared web services. Here, this is the API type compulsory. It should be advanced. Okay. Since we did some changes, let's click on save. Don't forget to save. Okay. Now let's go back here. Let's refresh or maybe go back to other and come back. Okay. So bank book service. Click on manage. You can see now that warning is not coming. Okay, and status also you can see deployed. It says authentication is atom controlled. The plans we okay, published version is we can see version 1. History action here also you can deploy as well as you can also remove it. So both the places we can deploy it and we can even remove it. Here also we deployed from here, right? From the atom sphere window also we deployed it. Even you can also deploy it here if you do some, if you do some changes right here. Uh, Basically you do some changes like authentication, you configuring your own authentication. Uh, like that, if you are doing authentication things, you can configure few more things here like atom control can change from internal to external. You want to implement LDAP kind of a thing, right? You can use external and you can set up that. And even if you want to have a access like a roles level access, so those things after you did some changes, right? You need to deploy, right? So that's why option is given for here. So anyway, if I we'll just go and we'll just go here, and then after we did all the changes, our API will be visible here, and that API we can go for the API. This is authentication is basically you want to change authentication chain model. You can need to if you want to define roles, right? So we'll define these things next. So let's click on applications. This one is basically right. If you want to what I need to say, if you want to define the access and applications, basically for when we'll give is kind of what I can say what kind of authentication you want to set up, right? Then basically we'll do this, define this application, and we'll define application, and then application will have an API key will be generated. So for that, basically external authentication is required. So external authentication is required. Now let's click on API catalog. So there you can add your, let's say you want to give your access to your API to the X party. X is the application accessing it. You add application X here and give an access. And again you are adding again you want to give the same access, same application access to Y application. Again you want to give Z. So you can list out all the applications so that can give us the who and all. It's basically governance, right? Completely API management, nothing but it's governance. Basically, you will have a complete control on who is accessing and what's the details of application and who and all at present can use this. All these details can need to register and give an access. Here you need to give something like all the details about that. That gives a complete idea. Now we'll just look at the API catalog here. The API catalog, you can minimize all the things. So let's go for the.
It is nothing but an X client ID like that, right? One more tokenizer.
Exactly. It looks
Uh,
similar to that. Exactly.
yeah, we are using for environmental level and one X client ID, which is using for all applications in the development, and one X client ID, which is using for the next layer of testing QA. So, which is same for all the applications in the environment. Is the same thing you are discussing, right?
Okay. See, you worked on Mool, right?
Yes.
So once you deploy an API, you will be configuring on the runtime, right? So you need to this is the policy limit, this is a throughput, and this is a number of hits per second, number of hits per and number of web service API hits per minute or per second, something you configure, and then you define an application and you give access, right?
Yes, API management.
Similar things here. In the applications, you will define an application, and the plans will define that the plans will define the limit and all API limit and all the things, and then you will associate everything with API. Then whatever you call it as an basically I forgot the policies. Yes, policies, right? Policies is a real plan. Okay, and after you associating a policies, right, you will control it from by application, right? So that this is the application here. So this is whenever you want to give your application, your API access to the multiple systems, basically they'll register an API. They'll register an API, the application name. If you maybe it's for WAT, it's internally support the WAT control based on application ID, right? So it generates the client ID and client secret. Maybe you can consider this as a client ID. So it's client ID. So client secret will be API key will be generating. With this combination, always it's triggered that it's triggered. Other parties can trigger an API, but always we need to share the API key. Whenever they need to trigger our API, they need to give the header name as the API key. Whatever the API key Boomi has generated, that API key also they need to provide. Then only they can able to hit this in service. That all these things are possible when we change authentication from internal to external, not internal. Internal means all the authentication processes who is handling it at present by Boomi Atom. If you want to change the external authentication from internal to external, then all these things can be possible.
External means it is customization by the application.
Yes, it's a customization. You can define there is a 3 types of basic will support, and even LDAP or even SAML or Open Connect. These things are supported. It's again is basically is required. You need to set up an external one external kind of an atom will be required. Need to set up. Basically, for external you cannot make it on cloud. For external means you have to make it on premise. All your authentication system. There is one broker will be downloaded. You need to install the authentication broker. After installing the broker, it's broker is nothing but again it's one kind of an atom only. The broker you will add authentication sources, different authentication sources. For each authentication source is for this type of suppose basic authentication, Open ID, SAML. These are the 3 types of service providers, authentication service providers is supported by Boomi. But this is once you want to set up this one, this completely should be an on-premise. Okay, now let's move on. Catalogs. Catalog is a way basically list all the services. So now this is the one service, and this service has atom name. Why it is showing 2 entries?
What is the basic use of API catalog generally?
The API catalog is just you generally maintain an inventory, right? Inventory with list of services, right? Why we will maintain inventory? Just to know what services are available and what's the functionality of each of those in one place. Similarly, whatever the APIs are deployed in Boomi, it will extract. It will be different. It will extract and everything will be referenced in API catalog. In the API catalog is option where you will get the list of APIs. Before you develop an API, you can check whether the API is already there or not. So if it is API is already there, if you want to see the functionality, what and all operations it supports, and what is the request and response structure of each of those. So everything you can trigger. Even you can trigger an API as well. So let me show you this one. Let's click on this book service. You can see view the API in integration. When you click on the view API in integration, in the sense it basically open again the API component will be reopen it. API component would be reopening it. Okay, so now let's click on REST. Now let's click on SOAP. First we'll see the SOAP. This is the base URL. So earlier what is saying only WS SOAP only it is showing. We cannot customize the URL. Here you can customize the URL. WSD URL path. So let's open this. Copy. Okay. Here you can see that get books. So here the way how we showed earlier web service server connector, this WSDL will only generated for API component. whatever the services you have, whatever the operations you have included in the API component, only those operations, with those operations only visual will be generated. It's not like it will take entire services that deployed in Atom and will compose it in one visual. That's a change with the API component. So whatever the operations we have included as part of this API component, only those with those operations only visual will be created. Okay, this is the one what we need to check in this one here is we need to see the endpoint URL what is able to customize it. Another thing is we have changed the target namespace to schema.books.com here. You don't see anything Boomi namespaces here. Earlier we were seeing Boomi namespaces. Two things. Okay, now let's go ahead and test the SOAP UI. And one more thing is here, you don't have an option in earlier in web service server connector that you can scale. We can, as of now, it's referring external one. So what we can do here is, we don't want to refer an external one. We will change this one, the monthly to single. Okay, it means all your schema will be there in one place. You want to even write your regional service also. What's the service name it's showing? Web service provider it's showing. So I'm giving a customized name now. Okay, save, and also change the multi to schema so that all it will get it will get entire visual in entire schema inline to visual. Okay, now just refresh it. What happened? WS SOAP services V10. When accessing unknown path service V10. What happened suddenly?
I think it is expecting book also.
No, I'm not triggering the service basically. Hold on a second. Book service. V10. Okay.
Services slash, right? Services.
No, I was able to access till now. Like, only what happened with this one. WS SOAP services V10. Okay, visible. Advanced. Okay, this one I don't know maybe whether it's well impacted or not. Everything is fine. But I don't know something like whether it's the version is impacted or not, or it's not properly deployed yet. Okay, now you can see all the schema is inline instead of including one. So even you can change, you can see that web service name was changed from the web service provider to book service. So now let's take this one, use the SOAP UI. It's taking time. Okay, now even the rest also you can able to see. With the rest, what exactly happened here is with the rest you can Swagger also will be automatically get generated here. Even if you want to give an access to the Swagger link to your end systems, even you can give the Swagger link also. Access Swagger visually. This is basically called a API portal. API portal basically we'll call it as API portal. API portal means where it can you can able to where you can able to see an option to test all those things.
Is Swagger is open source or it is?
Yeah, open source. Swagger is open.
So it's nothing but we can write the RAML code, right? Is it correct?
Raml will support it or not, not sure. But Swagger, there is Swagger and Raml both are not same. Even looks identically, but both are not same. Correct. So whether we can directly refer here or not, that not I don't. I'm not sure that one. Maybe we can check whether it's really supports or not. Its UI is not open because of host name and the issues, right? I don't know how to give virtual host name. Sorry, API component. Where is API component? Gone. Let's open API component. API management. See, this is a JSON. Even if you save this JSON, right? This is a background JSON would be generated for the Swagger one. API component. No, it is not writing. Let's create a slow project. Basically, because of host names only, generally it will give this kind of a thing. Need extraction one more operation. Let's test this one. Sorry, database is not started. Maybe because of that it's showing error. Okay, now we were able to see all those things. So let's see. Why it's asking every time can't it save? We need to pass the query parameter here.
Somewhere if you can pass the query parameters, I don't know how to pass the query parameters. So okay, I think it might work out. So let's test the from Postman. Why it is not working to build? Maybe it's fine. The book my ID website is also applied because I did some changes in the sub process. New deployment, basically it just directly filter it based on the process ID, so that you can quickly go to there. Now let's click on atom information. API path is not provided. Required parameter meta resource UI index.html reason required parameter API path was not provided. Where are we missing that API path? Let's click on generate token. Generate token is basically whenever you want to give this uh, endpoint URL, you can share this URL with them. API path is not mentioned. Where is not mentioned?
This token is for the connecting to Swagger.
Yeah. This is for books token. This is for book by ID. Yeah, it looks the same. Where? Let's test this one. WS. No more simple is no more working. So let's test this web services. REST services will test. Let's see what will. Okay, authorization. Let it be keep it same thing. What else? Let's send. There was an error. Let's change this to local host. Okay, we got response now. Multiple books we got it. How can we? Okay, we got multiple books ID. So we'll take one book ID here. This is a path parameter. I can see that only one ID we got it. So it means the REST service is working fine, but I don't know what Swagger, what it's missing for Swagger. Generally, you will get Swagger also. So if we get for other services, right, you can select the user whose credentials are used to access Swagger expression. You set on the user management. You can go integration. There is no problem with that. This is deployed on the cloud data. If you deploy it on the cloud atom, if you can use it test.boomi.com.
we deployed on the production production cloud item, connect.boomi.com you need to use it. So this is how it looks like, generate. The same JSON file we already downloaded earlier. So in authorize with you, what user ID you log in, it will show you this particular operation. No operation defined. Otherwise, you should have for accessing this particular service is same for us. Okay. Okay, we'll see that one. So why that one is not coming? But at least for us, our API service is working fine. Both the REST and SOAP is both working fine. So let's trigger those services with Boomi. Let's last test one more thing.
மூர்த்தி இங்க மேல என் பொண்ணு ஐஏஎஸ் பாஸ் பண்ணிட்டா. அதான் சாரை பார்த்து ஸ்வீட் குடிக்கலாம்னு. இன்னைக்கு மேடம் பர்த்டே இல்ல, அதான் சார் கொஞ்சம். குட் மார்னிங் சார். மார்னிங் சார். குட் மார்னிங். ஜூஸ் ஒரு காசு போங்க. ஓகே சார்.
Narendra, can you mute your? Okay, let's see one more thing. Same books is deployed on other atom. Let's see whether that is working or not. Okay. If not, we'll just check. I'll check later.
Sorry, my son is playing with my mobile, so that's why getting.
Okay. Oh, this. It was offline, right? Okay. Thought it's offline, but looking at here, I thought it's online. Okay. So let's go for the no data here, and first we test with web service offline connector. Web service offline connector, you can just specify the connection here. What is the connection? Endpoint URL. Endpoint URL will be whatever we saw in SOAP-UI. This is the endpoint URL. Boomi. This is a WSDL URL here. For the SOAP endpoint URL, we need to specify here. Security type is basic authentication. So we need to give the username and password. There is this and password is. So save and close. So let's click on operation here. The operation what we will get it is here is, so we need to create an object. Object means basically which operation you want to trigger. So this thing is not configurable directly. So you need to go with import wizard. Import wizard will connect to the deployed atom. Will connect to the say what it will do when you are giving connection means it's trying to connect to the endpoint URL, and then it will going to do the extract the WSDL with that endpoint URL and passes the WSDL, and it listed the number of operations available in the drop down. It listed the operations available in the drop down, and it should show us the operations. Okay, this is the operations it is going. Now let's go with the get all books. Okay, it's automatically generated here.
Okay, we did not specify the input. So since this operation doesn't expect any input, right? But still we need to just mention this is we need to generate empty tag, right? Something like that. So for that we need to just specify null here. Okay, nothing we need to define. You just define the tag and static value. If you don't put anything, default value, so that it can able to trigger the service. Just it's in order to generate this empty tag. This empty tag we need to generate, right, for that purpose.
We can pass it right from here.
If you want, you can pass it the message shape with message shape, you can pass it. Okay, what you can see, embedded message, error invoking job operation caused by server sent HTTP status code 415, unsupported media type, unsupported media type. Let's see. Report.
We gave application/JSON, I think, last class.
Yeah. Correct one, right? Will be given.
Not somewhere we are giving a header level while creating the vegetal.
Okay, we are accessing from 1 to 1. So 1 to 1. Just this one. Supported media type. What media we are sending? You can even check the logs also here. What we are sending here. So 1.2 is not accepted again. So let's see. Last is 653. Then now you can see 775. You can see one more instance. You can see all the response here. Okay, this is working. Now let's see the same thing. Let's trigger the same services with let's trigger the same service with HTTP client connector. And mention the postman right here. So what we need to do here is common is here, right? See here it's common, right? Generally,
Yes.
what's the best practice here is? Best practice would be adding it. Authentication type is basic. The best practice would be here adding the only base URL here, only the host name, port number, and whatever this other thing is common. So apart from that, what we need to do here is remaining thing, everything we need to put it in the operation. So that what happens here is if you want to trigger, because Boomi works with licensing based on the connection based licensing, right? So when you are using this one, when you're using this one, right, you will get different type of endpoint URL. Right after you pass this one, you will be going to use a different endpoint URL. So if you don't make it reusable kind of a thing, we need to use two connections.
We need to use two connections. And that too, this ID is not sure that this randomly we will pass it. Maybe we'll extract this ID from some other system and we'll pass this one. So it means even this ID also should be generic. So for that we can use the rest one. And since we don't need any request for this one, so I'll show you where to pass that one. Select response. We can just even you can put everything dummy, because here it just HTTP method is get return HTTP response. If you don't put this one, you won't get the response. Okay. Header, you want to pass anything header? This is a place where exactly we need to. This is a place exactly we need to pass it. This endpoint URL. Okay. Yes, first slash automatically Boomi will be adding, so you don't need to add for slash and remove it. In case if you want to place anything as a dynamically, right? Dynamically, you can check this checkbox and you can define a dynamic document property with that name just before the connector. So first we'll see this one, then we'll add that one. It says that this execution of Boomi client error message received from message code for unknown operation services.v10.book caused by error message received from HTTP server code 404 unknown operation services v10 book. Okay. We need to remove that. This and you will get the endpoint URL is the base path. Just only book only. Not book. After book, no slash. Only that might be causing no. Here we can see that endpoint URL is dynamically concatenating that one. HTTP localhost. Let's copy this one to Notepad. So let me copy here from. Is there any difference here? Nothing is difference. Then why it is localhost 9090 plus services v10 book. Okay, let's see whether that service is triggered or not first. Let's rerun it once again. Basically, you will get an error here. Whenever you get right, you will get a HTTP server underscore log. You will get it with HTTP responses. You will get to know like what is being triggered and everything. Then say that Boomi tiny
This is the account is adding. You are doing a get operation here. 1 second. It's trying to do post. It's trying to do. Let me just let me rerun it and load the log. Let's see what happens. The recent process is 711. Let's see. Then we got some error. Last one will be 80 record. 80 record. Let's reload it. 81 record came. I think it's doing a post actually. Doing a post. So let's get. I can still look if we need to define get. I think that might be the reason. I think that is it. Let's see whether we return any result. Okay. You can see that we have written multiple records here. Okay. Have written multiple records. For each of the ID, we are going to for each of the ID we are going to call dynamically. We are going to call the web services. So let's see how we can do that. Nothing is different. We already getting similar one, so we'll just modify a little bit. This is the set property here. You can just take default. Okay, just build the skeleton. What we are getting multiple documents. For each of the document, what we need to do is let's create a new one here. So the same one we'll be calling, but in addition to that, the resource path actually we need to do that. In addition to that, we need to define one more thing. This we define it as a book ID. Okay, you make sure you replace this as a replace ID. So in that case, it's not acting as a value; it's acting as an ID. That ID is called dynamic document property ID. Okay, so return HTTP for these things and all, you can use get only. So because if you don't specify anything, it will kind of a generic one. Okay, so make sure the book ID what we define is dynamic document property. Okay, book ID. For this book ID, who is going to provide a value here is we're going to provide using a profile parameter that we get the response over books XML. Here is the ID. Let's run this. So with this one, what happens is we were able to use the one connection. That's the advantage of the HTTP client connector. Most of the times in real time, we use HTTP client connector only. So SOAP service client connector will not going to use it. So it says that slash was not defined here. So let's click on slash here. Ideally, it should define should define. I don't know why it's not defined, because it's, every time we are adding a new one, it's supposed to define it. Now let's run it. So what we are doing here is, you are getting all the list of books. For each of the book, we are going to call the connection. You can see after 711, you can see how many things got triggered. Okay, see. After 711, you can see many things got triggered. This is one. After 717, almost 5 times triggered. Get books by ID. You can see almost almost 7 times, 8 times got triggered from here. 12 times it will be triggered. Now let's see how the URL is actually happening. Is you can see the list of URLs, list of the endpoint URLs here. This is the endpoint URL. For this endpoint URL, we got this document, and we are going to set up the ID here. The ID was able to extract 101 initially. Then the next document 102 like that, it's able to extract. And if you see here, why it is not showing endpoint URL? Forget, it is not showing endpoint URL, I think. Okay, here you can see the endpoint URL is automatically appended 101. Okay, here is 102, 103. Let's see, this is 103. Ideally, it should be 103 is the document. Okay, so this is how we can use the web service SOAP client connector for triggering the web service SOAP web services. How we can use the HTTP client connector for triggering the SOAP as well as REST. You can, if your SOAP web service can accept so HTTP protocol as so, then we can trigger that web services using the HTTP client connector as well as SOAP client connector. The example one thing here is Boomi. Boomi, once we expose the web services in Boomi, you can trigger both the protocols, whether you can use SOAP protocol or you can use as a and plain HTTP protocol as well. So in that case, I'll suggest you to go with the HTTP client connector, so that saves a lot of connection licenses. Even though you deploy, let's say 100 services are deployed it here, so you can only use one service with unique host name, host and port number combination. That saves in real time in the real time you may need to have more than one services you need to call. Okay, so any doubt?
No, it's look good, but I have one more question. So here, the second HTTP client, right? So we are using the first one and second one you are using as a listener, or second one is the requester? Both are requester, or first is listener, second one is a requester?
Which you are talking about listener? Both are clients, right? We are just invoking the services.
Only
we are invoking a services, web services.
Yeah, right. So the first one is invoking the REST service, means that is listener. The second one is, so we are triggering the same, right? Same we are using, but we are passing the different ID.
See,
URL parameter.
See, there is a difference. So we are invoking a service here. So this becomes a client. This is not a listener. Okay, listener would be here. Listener would be this one is a here. Book service is a listener. Once you trigger a service here, this will go here, and this will identify the operation here based on endpoint URL. It will go based on this one. It will identify the which process need to be called it, and based on that it will trigger the service and it give the response back, and the same response we are able to see it here.
Okay.
So this is a convert. Same thing is happening. Now instead of going that one, it's going REST, and it's going, instead of going the first one earlier service, now it's going this one.
Yes, I agree with that one. Suppose the second time sending, right? So it's nothing but we are calling another application. Is correct, right? Almost similar.
Correct. We have change endpoint URL triggered, right? Similar thing we did there also.
Okay. So in header point of view, we are passing here the header is if is there any authentication is required, we are passing header.
Yeah.
So how we can pass the query parameters to the second HTTP requester?
Same, right? Query parameter, where the query parameter will go? Query parameter will go in URL. So I already
Yeah.
showed you how to customize the endpoint URL here.
Yeah, that is for URI parameter. I want to pass
See,
URI param. Yeah.
then nothing, right? You change this one slash to here, it becomes your URI parameter, right?
Okay. 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 Okay.
You
No,
have
no,
complete flexibility.
no, no, not. Okay. I can. The question mark is correct, but if is that multiple of there, then the same thing I have to be given, right?
Exactly, you need to pass multiple things here.
Okay. Okay. I have
Or
defined
else,
here.
or else you can do one more thing. You can put some kind of a string here, maybe query param, something like you can write some intent. In the set properties, you can define all your query parameters, name, value, pair. Parameter
Okay.
1 name equal to value and parameter 2 equal to value. You can put that and it automatically replace it.
Okay. 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 Yeah.
Or else if you want to add it here, you can individually set. That option is yours.
Okay. Okay. And okay. Can you explain the caching next class?
Yeah, election caching.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good.
Okay. Okay, sir. We'll
Oh,
make.
okay. Yeah. Sure. Thank you.